Hello, welcome to Sportsbet TV. This is Paul Alster here with you with your racing tips from me for Saturday, the 28th of August, where there's plenty of racing going on across Britain and Ireland. And I have three selections for you for this weekend. I'll come to those in just a few moments. But first, to those joining us for the first time, welcome along. We're all about trying to find decent price winners, preferably big prices if we can, if we think the horses are going to outrun their odds. If you haven't signed up, then do remember to press the red button just below and subscribe to this channel. Also, as I mentioned, I like to go for big odds here at Sportsbet TV, but I started recently offering my thoughts on those horses more towards the head of the market for people that are looking for horses at decent prices, but more towards the favourites end of the list. And those are available at freebets.com on the YouTube channel. So do check that out. We've been doing really very well there. And it was a very good York Ebor fixture, I'm very pleased to say. We gave selections for all 4 days last week. I hope you followed them. And I'm just going to show you here. You'll be able to see the 4-day selections. Day one, well, a quiet start with high definition disappointing. Nicholas T got a bit upset before the race, and he'd run his race before it started, really. But then good old Flaming Rib came through, and he won at 16 to 1, and to the recommended £10 each way, which is the notional stake that I suggest, £192 profit. The win bet for £20 and the £10 each way was lost. Tuesday was unfortunate. We had two non-runners. The only one that did run was Amma Grace, and she didn't run very well, I'm afraid. But then Wednesday, the third day rather, which was of course Friday, Nunthorpe Day, was a cracker. We started off with Giza Sub each way at 20 to 1. He ran a great race to finish second in the Jim Crack. And of course, Winter Power went and won the Nunthorpe itself, popping up at 9 to 1. And she absolutely routed them, didn't she, Tim Easterby's filly? I told you she was incredibly fast, and she had so much going for her, and happily everything fell into place. And then Wishar, the third of the selections on Friday, well, he ran into a place, finishing fourth in a big handicap. The odds were recommended at 15 to 2. Giza Sub was recommended at 20 to 1. He went off a great deal shorter. The money really came for him. So that was a really good Friday, but I'm afraid Saturday didn't work out. Summer's Night looked like he was travelling all over them at the 2 furlong marker in the Melrose handicap, but he didn't get there. Mount Leinster, well, we beat the market. That's half the job when you're putting up tips a day ahead. We beat the market with Mount Leinster at 16 to 1. I think he went off at 5 to 1, but he didn't run any sort of a race. Something went wrong. He just didn't run his race. And Straight of Hormones ran respectably, but wasn't good enough. So overall, to the £10 each way bets and the £20 for the occasional win bet, the profit, £215 for those 4 days. So I hope you made some money as well at the York Ebor Festival. Now let's see if we can come up with something for you for this weekend. And I have to say, I've looked through these cards and I spent a lot of time going through them, looking for each way value. And the cards at Newmarket, Goodwood, Beverley and Windsor, for me, to my way of picking horses, just did not appeal. I couldn't find a horse at any of those 4 meetings that I could recommend to you each way. So I've come up with 3 others from what you might call the gaff tracks, really, from 2 of the other tracks at Navan in Ireland and at Cartmel in the Lake District. Some interesting ones. Now we'll start off at Navan in the 130. And this is a 5.5 furlong 2-year-old maiden, not the sort of races I would normally get involved in. It's a 15-runner affair, good to firm. It is quite an eye-catching race, though. We've got Aidan O'Brien, as is so often the case with Irish maidens, with the favourite colt called HMS Endeavour. Finished third at Naas over 6 furlongs on its debut, was a bit keen there. Hopefully will have settled down a bit and should improve. We've got a horse called Papa K, trained by the excellent Jessica Harrington, a gelded son of Kodiak. He ran okay on debut, 6 of 12 at the Curragh last week, only made his debut last week on soft ground, so this will be a very different challenge over a shorter trip and faster ground. Then you've got Pirate Jenny for Jer Lyons, a newcomer, 105,000 guineas, yearling this one by Exceed and Excel, making its debut. And Jer Lyons and Colin Keane have been carrying much before them, really, over the last month or so. Colin Keane is running riot in Ireland at the moment. And then a horse called Red Lacewing, who's a half-sister to the Group 1 winner, The Last Lion. So nicely bred. She makes her debut for the Fozzie Stackyard. Now, as you know, those that join me week to week here, I keep a very close eye on Irish racing because I watch very closely the racing while broadcasting on a regular basis on the internet on the Irish scene. And there was one horse that rather caught my eye first time out, and it's a horse called Pearl Palinka that goes here, trained by the superb Dermot Weld and the mount of up-and-coming young Irish jockey Oisin Orr. Now, this is a filly by No Name Never, who, of course, has done tremendously well at stud. She's a full sixer to a 6 furlong listed winner, and the dam was fairly decent at between 7 furlongs and a mile. So a nice pedigree, Pearl Palinka, and she caught the eye on her debut at Tipperary. She finished third there. It was at the end of June, so she's had nearly a couple of months off since then. 5 furlongs, good to firm, finishing third to a horse called Ladies' Church. Well, the winner, Ladies' Church, went on to win the listed Marwell Stakes at Naas last time out. So that form has really been franked. And the second horse that day, Orinoco River, trained, I think, by Donnacha O'Brien, was third at the Curragh in a listed race recently and is rated 90. Now, when I compare that with the others in the race and the fact that Pearl Palinka was having its first run and was a little bit green, she should improve for the run. She certainly wasn't knocked about and she was quite an eye catcher. I think she can improve enough to win this. Question is, what price is she going to be? And as so often with the Irish racing, we're recording this early Friday afternoon. There's absolutely no prices on anything in Ireland on Saturday. So looking at the forecasts of one or two tissues that are around, the Racing Post forecast is 15-2. I think that's too big. And I'd estimate that hopefully we might get 5-1 to be able to bet this one each way. So with Aidan O'Brien having a runner and Jesse Harrington and Ger Lyons, I think Pearl Palinka maybe will get that 5-1 each way. If it's any shorter, then that'll be because there is proper money for this horse. So that's Pearl Palinka in the 1:30 at Navan on Saturday. Now, my second selection is also at Navan Saturday. It's in the 3:07, another maiden race over a mile, but this time for 3-year-olds and upwards. And there are 18 runners. Remember, the going is forecast good to firm, which you don't see too often in Ireland, of course. Now, 18 runners, but as is very often the case in Irish maidens, there's a lot of deadwood, a lot of horses that really haven't got much of a chance and are basically either not good enough or are running basically to qualify for a handicap mark. Now, amongst the horses that are running in this race, by the way, a race Aidan O'Brien has won 2 of the last 3 years, but this year he doesn't have a runner. The Racing Post have forecast that Windsor Pass is going to start favourite. Now, this one's rated 75. It's a 9-race maiden. So let's be honest about it. It's had enough chances. And if there's anything out of the ordinary, it should be better than Windsor Pass. So quite how that one is forecast favourite, it's beyond me. But anyway, Vocal Ring is quite an interesting runner for Jim Bolger and made no show on its debut 1 run last year, but much better when returning at Leopardstown recently, finishing 5th of 14. And that was quite a promising effort. So I'd expect better from Vocal Ring. Now, Joseph O'Brien has a Galileo colt called Equus Deus, who just had the 1 run, and that was in November of last year at Dundalk, 9th of 14 to a fair horse of Aidan O'Brien's called Lochderg. Now, this horse has obviously needed time. Maybe it's had an issue, but you could expect it to improve. And then we've got an unraced one, trained by Ger Lyons called Barnetta, who's a gelded son of Australia. Now, obviously making its debut at 3, already gelded. We're almost into September. There's obviously been an issue or it was very backward, but you've got to respect Ger Lyons. And if there's any proper money for it, it is to be feared. But my selection here is a filly called Straight Talking. Now, once again, she's trained by Dermot Weld and ridden by Oisin Orr, who I'm fancying to have a good afternoon at Navan on Saturday. Now, she's a daughter of the great Frankel, and she's a full sister to a 1 and 3 furlong winner. And the dam is group placed as a juvenile. And as I mentioned, she would not have to be exceptional. to make a big impact on this race. And she comes from the Judmonte stud, the Khalid Abdullah bloodlines, and she's so well bred. You'd have to think that she could easily be good enough to win this race first time out. And the other thing that really has caught my eye in this race is that this race is run in memory of Pat Smullen, the late great jockey, Pat Smullen, who of course was stable jockey to Dermot Weld himself. And this race has been running, or is to be run, to promote a charity that has been established in his name. And I am quite sure, because Dermot Weld and Pat Smullen were so close for so many years, that they will give Dermot no greater pleasure really than to win the race named in honour of Pat Smullen. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's been eyeing this race for a while, and Straight Talking is the one he believes can do the job. Now, again, Timeform is suggesting 8-1 as the odds for Straight Talking. I'd suggest that if 5-1 is available each way, as the Racing Post suggests, then that is a good each way price. It could easily go shorter, and if it does, as I mentioned with the previous runner, then it's a sign that there's good money from the right sources, most likely, for Straight Talking. Remember to shop around, look around to place your bets with bookmakers that are going to offer you the starting price if it's bigger than any price you take. So that is Straight Talking, 307 at Navan. And then I take you on to Cartmel, the last race of the afternoon there at Cartmel, which is the 6:20. Now, this is a 2 mile, 1 furlong conditional jockey's handicap hurdle. The going is forecast good at the Lake District track, and there are 10 runners. Now, Frightened Rabbit won over the course and distance in June, has gone up £5 for Diane Sayer. We've got First Quest, an interesting runner for Neil Mulholland. It travels all the way up from Wiltshire to the Lake District, and it was a runner-up at Newton Abbot last time out. And then the ex-Irish Hungry Tiger could be one to keep an eye on as far as market moves go. It makes its debut for the talented trainer George Bewley, but it was running over fences in Ireland, and quite how capable it's going to be first time out in Britain over hurdles remains to be seen. Now, my selection here is a horse called Ellart, Ellallaat. It is trained by Irish trainer Noel Kelly, sending this one across the water, and he's booked Dan Skelton's conditional jockey, William Marshall, to ride this one, and he claims £3. Now, the booking itself is eye-catching. And Noel Kelly, actually, who comes from County Derry, he runs 4 horses at Cartmel on Saturday, and I've had a look at all 4 because he is quite a shrewdie, and I'm of the opinion that one of them at least is probably going to win. Question is which one, and by a process of elimination, I've come down to Ellart. And this horse won a 1.5 mile handicap on the flat at Fairyhouse on its penultimate start in June, and it won very, very easily. Now, that was on a fairly sound surface. I think it might even have been good to firm. And then after that, it went over hurdles and didn't stay. That was over 2 miles, 3 furlongs on an easy ground. And I think that was at Downpatrick. Now, the thing about this horse is that he only just gets this trip at 2 miles, 1 furlong. And the way to help him get home is on a decent surface. So they're expecting sunny weather. The ground is already good. And if it goes even good to firm in places, all the better for Ellart. And the trainer, Noel Kelly, has a 17% winning record at the track, which is very respectable. He sent out 7 winners there from 41 runners. The other thing that caught my eye here was a run that this horse produced last autumn behind a fair handicap hurdler of Willie Mullins's called Classy K. He was 5th of 14 to that in a novice's hurdle. And on form lines through that, you'd have to think that off the weight allotted on Saturday, Ellart, with the very good young rider, William Marshall, claiming a further £3, he's got to go well. Now, happily, we do have a price guide here because William Hill's, bless them, have gone up early, and they go 11-1 each way, which I think is a very tasty price for Ellart. So each way, good value, the 11-1 Ellart at Cartmel on Saturday, the 6:20. These 3 might not be from the showcase races, those that are on ITV, etc. But a winner's a winner. And if they're a fair price, all the better. So sometimes it does pay to spread your gaze and just look a little further afield. Let's hope they all go well. And remember as well, if you're looking for shorter prices, to check out my selections at freebets.com. But for now, for this weekend, this is Paul Alster signing off. Enjoy the great weather And let's hope you can enjoy it with a winner or two along the way. Bye-bye for now.